r/AskReddit. What is the strangest thing you've witnessed that you can't explain to this day? I was in a small airport in Madagascar and I swear to God I saw 500 people get off a plane that should seat no more than 70. My friend lived in the middle of nowhere. Her house was surrounded by fields without people or homes for miles. One night we were sitting in her barn and we heard footsteps running towards us. We looked outside the barn doors to see a massive blue light glowing in the dark and moving steadily towards us. We hear the footsteps and see the light, but can't see anybody causing it. We freak out and take off running to the other barn and locked ourselves in. For the next half hour we could hear something circling the barn. Eventually it faded away and we ran to the house. I assume it was a person obscured by the darkness and holding a massive flashlight, but I don't know why they came after us or what they were planning to do. Standing in line at a convenience store behind a pair of EMTs, a college student and a father in his 40s with 2 kids. Eyewitness in quick succession. The college student nod to the dad nod the kids nod to cashier, the cashier nod to the EMTs, followed by them all leaving together through a service exit. I was told to go to the next register. I've seen a lot of strange things, but one in particular sticks in my mind. Driving late at night after a school event. I'm taking a few friends home that didn't have cars or rides home. We're winding through a narrow side street that cuts from one end of a neighborhood to the next one over. It runs uphill. To my left is a large hill. To my right is side streets that lead downhill to more houses. A teenager comes screaming out of one of the side streets as if the hounds of hell are chasing after him. He runs in front of my car. I slam on my brakes just as he enters the light of my headlights. He looks at me completely terrified, leaning on the hood of my car. My friends all finally realize why we're stopped and start asking who this guy is. We all start to open the doors to ask him if he's okay. He takes off running towards the hill before he can get out. He disappeared before he could pass through the other headlight. We freak out, go searching the hill to see if he went up that way. But it's almost straight up and super high. There's no way we missed him. We were looking right at him. Never could figure that one out. I'd seen other strange things in that same area over the years. I have a large floor-to-ceiling, wall-to-wall window in my office that overlooks an intersection. It's one of the busiest intersections in my city and, because of the layout of this intersection, is plagued by traffic shenanigans all year long. Shenanigans being crashes, fender benders, police traffic stops, people not paying attention to the right turn only and ignoring the no left turn here. One day I see a dude fall into the road as he approached the intersection on his bike and get hit by a car. Car was going maybe 20 to 25 miles per hour. I happened to be looking out and saw what happened. I'm only on the 3rd floor, so I run downstairs to help this guy only 20 feet from the building and just to be his witness. I get down there and the biker, his bike, and the car were gone. I asked pedestrians if they saw anything. Nobody did. It was strange, and I think about it now even a couple years later. I could only assume that the car ran, or maybe they took him to the hospital. But so quickly. It took me 20 to 30 seconds to get downstairs and they were gone. When I was younger, elementary school, some days I would come home from school and see the shadow of man in the window of my house. Sometimes I would just notice him in passing. Other times I would only see him when I got close and jumped back. Every time I tried to see him again, he would be gone. Now I don't come home at the same time, so I haven't seen him in about a year. But if I'm home at around 3 p.m, my dog will usually start barking at that window for no reason. I don't know why I could only see it when I came home at 3 p.m. from outside the house, but it's what happened. More info. There's nothing in the window tall enough to make the shadow I saw, and no one was home most of the time when it happened. Maybe not supernatural, but I used to work at Walgreens. On an average day, working in the cash register, I see a tall black skinny man walk towards me. His back was bent back, walking like a creature from a B-movie. His eyes were bloodshot red. He had no teeth. He was wearing pants as a shirt, a rag covering his genitals, barefoot and smelling like crap. We never deny service to homeless people, but this was something else. He brings up a 4-pack of natural ice to the counter. His hands were crazy twisted. I scanned the beers and put them in a bag. I tell him, "That's $3.49, sir," and proceeds to shout at me and starts waving his hands trying to reach his bag. His screech sounded like he was in agony. He reaches back to his butt and pulls out a $5 bill, covered in crap. In crap. This is important later. I act as politely as I can. Take the bill, and before I can give him his change, he runs away with his 4-pack. I can't find a reason for him to run away. I was literally going to give him his change, but as soon as he walks out, he opens one of the beers and downs it into jugs. And the next one as well. And the next one. And the last one. He proceeds to scream and run around outside the store, harassing customers. I call my manager, and he calls the cops. Walks outside meanwhile to scare the poor guy away. The guy proceeds to take his shirt off and starts banging it on the floor, shouting. Moments later, the cops show up and try to cuff him up. He obviously resisted. To say it was brutal would be an understatement. He got shoved in the back of the cop car and started screeching like a mating cat. He was not having it. He was a true warrior. But seconds before finally getting the door closed, he gives me the dirtiest look I've ever gotten. A look that said, "This is your fault. I will find you." All of this happened while Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus was playing in the background. Fast forward, I ask the manager what to do with the bill. He says, "Man is money, keep it in the register." The stench was awful both for me and the customers. I decided I had enough and handed it as change to a cool dude who had no problem with it. The next day, a customer pays me with the same bill. I tried so many times to get rid of the bill, but it always kept coming back. Always. One day I said "Cluck it" and just took it and threw it to the trash compressor. Never to be seen again. I swear his screech still haunts me to this day. 2 years later. I can't explain it. This is what happens in South Florida. I was walking home from the movie theater with a friend/neighbor of mine. It was about 8 p.m. and the walk took us down some major roads and through the suburbs. 45-minute walk through residential and commercial areas. We saw absolutely nobody. The whole walk, we saw no cars, no people, nothing. Well, not quite nothing. We did see the creepiest clucking crap ever. An ambulance, parked outside a house, lights on, doors open, no paramedics to be seen. Just sitting there in silence. The whole thing was like a gosh dang zombie apocalypse. It was insane. To this day I have no idea what was going on. I was very young and woke up in the middle of the night. There was a strange rectangular green light dancing around a dresser. It was only about 6 inches high and 2 inches wide. I was terrified. Something said my name. I heard it very clearly and I hid under the blankets, unable to move. A few minutes later, my mom in the next room started screaming there is a ghost in her room. We all calmed down after a while and we never did explain it. Today, I don't believe in ghosts or anything like that. But I do believe that something happened that night and I'm not ruling out anything supernatural. Me, my brother, and a friend were camping once when I was maybe 11 or 12 way out on our 100-acre farm in small town Kentucky. I woke up around 1:30 or so in the morning and could faintly hear a piano being played that sounded like it was coming out of the woods about 100 yards from our campsite. There is not a house or building or anything anywhere near that spot on our farm. So naturally I think I'm just hearing things and decide to try to go back to sleep. Then my brother, who was apparently also awake, sits up and asks me if I hear a piano. We made a dash for the house and never camped out there again. Not me, but my dad threw bags at United in Chicago for 20 years. He was at gate C17 during the famous UFO incident, and he said without a doubt it was a UFO. He and everyone else, to include pilots, were pulled in by a bunch of suits and told not to speak of it or they would be fired. In case you aren't familiar with what they are talking about, the link is in the description to check out after the video. I was lying in bed with my girlfriend watching TV. We're the only ones in the house and the shower turned on, like a steady stream, not just dripping water. I got out of bed, terrified, walked into the bathroom and turned it off. Had to turn the knob 90 degrees to shut it off. Never happened before and hasn't happened again, and it was a tight handle, not really loose as if its own weight could turn it. Dang ghost plumbers.
Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe as well for more Reddit stories like this. Until next time.